been a minute since I made a video, but I have a word and I had to share it with you guys. Just kind of give some encouragement to anybody who, just needs it. Always want to help encourage another if I can. And it's coming from Exodus. I was reading up on Moses and I came across some things that really inspired me. So I'm going to start in the fourth chapter of Exodus. If you guys want to take a look and follow along, it's going to be verse 10 through 14. And it says, "But Moses pleaded with the Lord, 'Oh Lord, I'm not very good with words. I never have been, and I'm not now, even though you have spoken to me. I get tongue-tied and my words get tangled.' The Lord asked Moses, 'Who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak, hear or do not hear, see or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will be with you as you speak, and I will instruct you in what to say.' But Moses again pleaded, 'Lord, please send anyone else.' Then the Lord became angry with Moses. 'All right,' he said, 'what about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he speaks well.'" So we are going to stop it right there for now and just kind of break this down, y'all. So I like to call this word, "Are you bringing a plus one?" And we will get there to why is "Are you bringing a plus one" in a minute, but let me just catch everybody up. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Moses, very popular story, movies made about it. But if you're not, he was supposed to be killed as a baby when Pharaoh ordered all the babies under 2 to be killed because of the prophecy, but he was saved by Pharaoh's daughter actually, and he was raised with the Egyptians, so he was kind of raised as an Egyptian, and then he started to come into who he really was as he got older, and he saw some of the mistreatments of the Hebrews, his people, and he didn't like that. He ended up killing an Egyptian, and he fled because, the shame and him just being fearful of what he did. And he, stayed with the Midianites for 40 years, married, started a family. And then, God kind of shows up and says, "Hey, Moses, go and tell the Pharaoh to, let my people go," basically. And he had kind of been arguing back and forth with God about why he can't do it. And that's kind of where we are right now in it. So this was not the first argument he kind of had with God. He was making all kinds of excuses why he couldn't do it. He was like, "I can't do it. Then what if they don't believe me? Who am I? They're going to say, I don't have the authority to tell Pharaoh, or the people are going to say I don't have authority to lead them." So he was kind of just saying that, he was not qualified. And then, God kind of, spoke to him and was like, "Who qualifies people? Who says who can speak? Who says who can hear? Who says who can see? I'm the qualifier." And I think that's a very important point, because I find myself doing it, and I'm sure many other people do. We kind of are like, "Well, God, I can't do this. What people will think this, or, I'm not good enough. I'm not here. I'm not there." And God is like, kind of compared to who? Who said you weren't good enough? If I'm the qualifier, I set the standard. So whose standards are you going by? If I set the standards and I said that this is, I asked you to do something and I said that you are ready for it, who are you to say you're not? According to who? So I think that that's just a really good point to kind of remember. And just, kind of Moses wasn't trusting him. Even after that, God was like, "I will be with you. Like, when you go talk to him, I'll be with you. I will instruct you with what to say." And still, Moses was like, "I can't." And I mean, it's easy to kind of judge Moses, but I think many of us, I know I do, we kind of do that. God is saying, I am for you. I made a way for you. I opened these doors for you. And we still are reluctant and hesitant and kind of not trusting him in his word when he's already said that he's made a way. He's already, got the victory or finished it. And we're just kind of not trusting in it. And then, this is probably like one of the most important parts of that whole chapter. So he was like, "God, can you send anyone else?" Like, oh my God, like it just broke my heart listening to that. Cause it's like, I can relate, and I'm sure so many people can. It's just like, can it be anybody else? Like, you know, you have something in front of you. You have something that you know God wants you to do, and it's like, I can't do that. It's too hard. It's too challenging. I don't have the strength. I don't have the education. I don't have the resources. Can somebody else do it? Like, I don't want to go through this struggle, because, you know, Moses, he had a struggle. Like, you know, this delivering the people from the Egyptians. He knew the Egyptians. He grew up with them. He knew, you know, he knew some of what it was going to take, and it looked impossible. It looked impossible. He knew Pharaoh. He grew up with him, though. That was kind of a part of his family, and he knew kind of a little bit about what it would take. I wouldn't say he knew the full magnitude of it, but he knew a little bit about the challenges that he would face, and he was like, can anyone else do it? And then, you know, that's when God kind of got angry, and God was like, okay, you know, send Aaron. And that's when we get to, are you bringing your plus one? Okay, bring your plus one. Bring Aaron. Bring your plus one. And I really want y'all to think about what is your plus one? Because it's not always a person. You know, when we think about plus one on an invitation, it has, you know, an invitation, and they say, you know, you can bring a plus one. You know, we think about that, but sometimes when we bring our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, those are our plus ones. And I think it was really interesting that Moses was getting to really who his plus one was. You know, if you have a party or a concert or somewhere you're invited to and you get to bring a plus one, you kind of go through the list of who to bring. You know, you might, I might bring my spouse or the person I'm dating. Or, you know, if it's a concert and, you know, it's like guys' concert or girls' concert, you're like, okay, well, I can't bring them. It's like, it's kind of not for them, or they don't like that music. And then you go to, okay, well, I'll bring a good friend. Well, which friend? You know, do I bring this friend? Do I bring that friend? So you kind of start narrowing out who you're going to bring for your plus one. And that's kind of what Moses was doing. He was it was like narrowing out with his conversation with God. What was really his plus one? What was the issue? And it went from, they're not going to think I'm qualified. How they're not going to know your name. He was asking God, like, well, who do I tell them who told me? Like, what do I tell them your name is? Like, how do I explain you to them? So it went from, you know, all these reasons, these outside factors, to they're not going to understand it. They're not going to think I'm qualified. Like, how do I get them to believe? And then it finally just came to, he got down to his plus one, and he was like, basically, I'm not good enough. I can't speak well. Even though in Acts 7, I do have to say, it did say that Moses was educated in all wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. So Moses was a powerful speaker. Many believe that he had a stutter. I don't even think it matters whether he had a stutter or not. The fact was, he was a powerful speaker, with a stutter or without. His words had power, and he was a man of action as well. So that's important to note. But it's just kind of like he got down to his plus one, and his plus one was really self-doubt. His plus one wasn't all these external factors with everybody else. His his plus one was that he just didn't believe in himself. He was not, you know, loving himself or seeing himself the way that God saw him. So there's an interesting journey in Exodus, because you can see him as he's delivering the people. You can see the plus one that he's carrying with him. It looks like Aaron, but really it's his self-doubt. And Aaron is kind of like representative of that plus one. And we will get into more of that when we go over to Exodus 5 and 22. So I'm gonna go over to Exodus 5 and 22, and I'm just gonna read just a little bit of that. It was kind of an argument, because Moses did end up stepping out and doing, you know, what God asked him to do. He took Aaron, and him and Aaron ended up speaking to Pharaoh and, you know, saying, you know, this is what God said, let his people go. And he did everything that the Lord told him, showed him, you know, the tricks. He used his staff, and he showed him all the miracles that God wanted him to show, and they still weren't going to let him go. And, you know, Pharaoh became harsher, and God did let Moses know ahead of time that Pharaoh was going to become harsher. But anyway, the verse says, 5 and 22 says, then Moses went back to the Lord and protested. Why have you brought all this trouble on your own people, Lord? Why did you send me? Ever since I came to Pharaoh as your spokesman, he has been even more brutal to your people, and you have done nothing to rescue them. So this is like, Moses is growing, but you can see these are still growing pains. Like, I think many of us can relate, I can, to where we felt like God told us to step out and do something. And when we did it, it seemed like things got worse. Like, we were like, God, I did what you asked me to do. God, I did everything that I was supposed to. Why did it get worse? Why did the attack get worse? And oftentimes when the attack is worse, that's how you know that you're on the right path. Like, that's when the devil is trying to throw you off. He's trying to distract you, or he's trying to delay you and get you off of the path and out the will, and start to doubt and think that what God said wasn't right, or what God said wasn't going to come to pass. But later on, when you turn, like when in the next chapter, you will see God was like, yes, it, Pharaoh did, get worse. He did treat you worse after you did this, but I'm getting ready to, lay my hand on Pharaoh. And when I get done, he's not only going to let you go, he's going to make you go. Like, he's going to be like, you got to go. He's going to be kicking y'all out, which that was just amazing. That was the word in itself, because it's like your enemies, when God gets done with your enemies, they gonna wish they never even knew you. Like, not even like they gonna wish that they didn't speak against you. They gonna wish they never did anything to you. They gonna wish that they never even came across your name, your face, anything about you. So that's so awesome, because that is really real. Like, God can fight your battles like no other. But that's just kind of a little bit of Moses' journey as he was growing, and it's also showing how the doubt, was still prevalent. And he kind of, sometimes the doubt is still there, your +1 is still there, but you still have to go and you have to grow through it. So it's just kind of showing that he was growing, even though he had that doubt, he still had to grow with his +1. And I would like to go over to Exodus 14, and it kind of shows, like, this is like a moment where you really realize that Moses is really starting to come into himself, and he's really starting to trust God and let go of the self-doubt and trust God more and follow what God has for him to do. And it just says, but Moses told the people, don't be afraid, just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. And this was after the people, came to Moses, and they were like, hey, Moses, Pharaoh was coming to the sea, and they thought it was over. They're like, we told you this would happen. Why did you, bring us out here? Why did you deliver us? Now you're going to get us killed. Why did you do this? You should have left us alone. You should have left us in bondage. You should have left us a slave in captivity. And Moses was just so calm now. This is the same Moses that was, frantic and anxious at first, and going to God and saying, why did you do this? I can't do this. Why did you have me? This happened, that happened. Now that Moses is no longer that Moses. That Moses is calm now. And now you can see the people are starting to grow, and they're going through the journey that Moses had to go through. And now he's telling them to be calm. And it's funny because he doesn't, right now at this moment, he doesn't even need Aaron to tell them. They came to Moses with this, and he doesn't have to use Aaron to tell the people. Moses is speaking to the people himself. So Moses is no longer even afraid to go before the people. He's speaking to the people himself, and just really representing what God called him to do. And I think when we go into later on in the chapter in Exodus 32, and I'll read 35, because this is kind of what happens when you keep your +1 too long. When it's time to let go of that +1, when it's time to let go of that self-doubt, and it's kind of been around too long, just kind of those +1s, those additions can really be negative factors. And you can see this in chapter 32 and verse 35. It says, then the Lord sent a great plague upon the people because they had worshipped the calf Aaron made. So Aaron, his +1, because of a decision that he made, had got a plague called upon the people. But let me go back into the chapter just in case you're not familiar with it. Everybody, a lot of people know that Aaron had made the calf out of gold, and the people worshiped, and he had people dancing naked and doing all kinds of debaucherous things, like, he had the people out there, having orgies, whatever. If his kids watching, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. But that's, kind of what happens. Like, Aaron was his plus one. Aaron was the one that Moses asked to bring. He was like, let Aaron speak for me. Aaron can speak so well. But I think then, like, here you really get a glimpse of this was more about, it wasn't just about speaking. It wasn't about being a great orator, but it was about, Moses really had a heart for the people, because he had, even in this chapter earlier, he had begged God. Like, if you go back just a couple verses up, you can see they say, they have made gods of gold for themselves, but now if you would only forgive their sins, and if not, erase my name from the record that you have written. So he's like, basically, if you can't forgive your people, God, then count me sinful with them. Don't forgive me either. If you can't forgive them, and you sentence them to the lake of fire, because that's basically what it seemed like he was talking about. Take my name out the book of life. So send me to hell and damnation with them. He took such responsibility for his people. And in this chapter, Aaron was like, when Moses kind of got really upset and yelled at him, Moses probably cussed him out. Like, he came down with the commandment tablets and he broke them. I'm pretty sure he broke some other things besides that. But Aaron was kind of like, why are you so mad? These people are sinful and wicked, so I just made them a calf. I did what they wanted. And Moses was like, why would you lead these people into sin? Like, he really saw that these people were, they should have known better, but they were vulnerable. He understood that they were vulnerable. He understood that what state they are in and how much growth was needed with these people. He really cared for them. He was willing to give up his eternal life for these people. So it just shows you that, when God was saying, go tell Pharaoh, it was more than words. It was like Moses, he had power, and it was more about, he had intercession. So, if you feel like God is telling you, to do something, you may look at somebody else and you may say, but they're better. Like, I can't do this. They're better. They do this better. They got that. And I don't have this. But you never know. Like, what you have, no one else has it. And if you're designed for that mission, then God sees something in you. He's put something in you. Not just sees it. He knows he put something in you that only you can do. It's unique to you and your mission. So you need to just trust in God and believe in God and what he has you to do. And that's kind of like what I have to do, because even now it's, so hard, and I feel so vulnerable even, speaking about, things that God has told me, but I really feel like that's a part of what I really need to be doing. So, and me stepping out, I just want to encourage anybody else to step out, and that's in any area. It may not be speaking the word of the Lord, but God, he may have you in, fighting for social justice, or, being a clothing designer, or being a teacher, or a doctor, lawyer, whatever area you are in, working with the community, anything. But, step out and do it. It's hard to be vulnerable. I will admit it is so hard for me. I really don't like not being good at things. So, but, you kind of got to start somewhere. So step out, trust God. I just want to encourage y'all. Thank you for watching. If you stuck around this long, it's all love. And I just hope you guys are encouraged. Until next time.